A brief introduction on our panelists. First, we have Mr. Goh Ching Yin, Executive Director for Market Development from Securities Commission Malaysia, a group that conceptualizes and formulates capital market strategy, products, and market intermediation. We also have Mr. Gopi, Vice President for Enterprise Development from the Multimedia Development Corporation. Mr. Gopi joined MDAC in February 2015 as their Vice President for Enterprise Development, a new division that focuses on developing Malaysian MSC status companies into a global powerhouses. Also, on the panel is Ms. Patrina Goh, co-founder of wedding.com.my. Ms. Goh has a strong passion in technologies and businesses, with her venture in wedding.com.my and Nuren.co, a female marketplace targeting Southeast Asian women in areas related to weddings, motherhood, and living. Finally, Mr. Leo Shimada rounds up the four-person panel. Mr. Nicola, co-founder and chief commercial officer of Crowdo, will be moderating the discussion. Over to you now, Mr. Nicola.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies from the panel. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the audience. We heard from Leo some numbers which I think are quite terrific. World Bank estimated that within 10 years, the amount of capital going to be raised outside US through crowdfunding platform is around 100 billion, which is basically 4 times what the VC industry is currently moving as of now. So quite impressive numbers. Moreover, everybody's talking about crowdfunding right now, right? It's a very hot topic. Everybody says disruptive. Everybody say it's changing the way the fundraising industry is. We're seeing everywhere in this region, but also in the world, every country, every regulators now looking actively and how to come up with a specific regulation to empower and enabling crowdfunding. I think we need to all be proud to know that Malaysia was the first country in Southeast Asia to come up with a dedicated crowdfunding regulation. So I think the first question is for Mr. Goh. If you can share some of the thinking, some of the ideas that, one, make you delivering the framework so timely, and second, how to to come up with a framework which is so progressive.
Thank you, Nicola, for the question. I think it's best to take us back a few steps in time, as it were, where before we get into the issue of crowdfunding and how we took it from there, to just focus on what the Securities Commission has been doing with regards to the capital market space. And around that, maybe to some of you who may not be too conversant with the work that we do, we actually have a Capital Market Master Plan 2, which we launched in the year 2011. And out of that, besides other strategic initiatives for which we've been undertaking from time to time since then, we have also had a particular chapter or initiative around the space of the sustainability and inclusiveness area. And on that particular banner, what we are trying to deal with is actually this whole notion about getting sustainable investments in, as well as making capital market more inclusive for the participants. And around that came the year of 2013, when we actually launched a big initiative where we put our mind around a project called the Unlisted Market Space. And on the 23rd of May, to my recollection, was the day which we presented this whole notion about the unlisted market space. And one of these particular segments had to deal with crowdfunding. Well, we are 3 years into the journey now, and I think the timing is right. Social media has indeed picked up. We've seen global developments around this particular space, and the deployment of market-based financing around the sphere of social media has actually taken traction, and as shared by both Leo and Nicola just now, in terms of some of the statistics that is coming out from research undertaken by the World Bank, it is a great area where the potential can be realized and to make it work for startups and other innovative ventures in particular. So we are where we are today, and today's event, I must congratulate Crowdo for being here and launching this particular day, as it were. And I think this is where the whole notion about getting started begins. And hopefully we'll see successes around this platform, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Next question will be for Mr. Gopi. So MDEC overall mission is to support the ICT business in Malaysia. How do you think crowdfunding fit into this mission?
I think scaling up, introducing talent into ideation has been something that MDEC's been pushing for a long time. And I think we've had a lot of good success. Equity crowdfunding is definitely a platform. We worked very closely with SC to ensure that it goes through. And today I'm personally very happy that we're having this launch. So to see it to fruition is very good. To answer your question, I think there's a lot of money in the system. It is the thinking that needs to change. Thinking has to change on how we invest in these companies. And these companies don't have much time. Within 6 months, if you do not invest, they can become obsolete or technology changes. So something like equity crowdfunding, I think, is perfect to tap into the smaller investors who are plentiful there, and to see how you can have a platform that's able to quickly invest in 30 days, as you said, or 60 days. So I think this platform is going to change the ecosystem for us.
Very, very interesting, particularly from entrepreneur point of view, right? So I would like now to have an entrepreneur point of view. Ms. Petrina, if you can share what you think from entrepreneur and startup perspective, what crowdfunding value brings to you?
Well, there are mainly two reasons why we look into equity crowdfunding. First, of course, is the marketing and the visibility that it can give to us. We are raising funds not only from investors, from the public, from our customers, from our fans. This also allows our fans, our customers to take part of the growth of the company. The second part is also the market access. Through Crowdo's established network, of investors in Singapore, KL, and Indonesia, we can access a broader range of investors, borderless, and also, raise more awareness in targeted overseas market.
So value is not only money, value is also exposure, is
Yes.
also marketing.
And
Right.
the PR that we can get from that.
Absolutely. How about crowd validation? How about get feedback from potential end user of your business?
Yeah, that is also very important. Equity crowdfunding also provides us the liquidity, and as what Mr. Gobi has said, it's very efficient. It saves time. Everything can be done online through an online platform.
Yes. Leo, you've been, Crowdo it's a regional company in Southeast Asia. You've been following crowdfunding across different countries. What do you think is the key peculiarity of the Malaysian market?
So I wouldn't call it peculiarity. I would say that Malaysia is special, right? So when we look at each market, we look at 4 things to decide how hard and how far we're going to go. One is the competitiveness of the regulatory policy. The second is the dominance of social media and communication. The third is entrepreneurs. And also fourth is whether the investors are open or not. And I have to say that Malaysia scores high on all these metrics, right? Regulatory framework, we're privy to looking at regulatory frameworks either announced or developed all throughout the region. And I can say with confidence that Malaysia has one of the most progressive, advanced, and competitive policies in the world right now, right? If you look at entrepreneurs, you just need to look to my left at Ms. Petrina, former corporate person turned entrepreneur, going very hard at this, building up a business which is now going to grow beyond the borders of Malaysia, right? If you look at investors, I know that it's very hard to get statistics about angel investors and so on, but if you look at some of the statistics, for example, which are published by Manulife, you'll know that investors here are very open to new kinds of investments. Yeah, so in social media, I have very little to add because I think everyone knows the prevalence of Twitter, Facebook, and other social media here. And so these are the 4 things which I think Malaysia scores very high on. And I think maybe one of the peculiarities, I think that the Malaysian market tends to kind of like underestimate its potential, right? You tend to be very hard on yourselves for some reason. But when I talk to venture capital funds or investors which are abroad, they are extremely excited about Malaysian startups, for example, because they think that these are startups which are cutting their teeth in a very tough market environment, and they know that they need to win locally and then quickly get out into the regional market, right? So I think that there are many positive perspectives that we bring, being sitting outside in Singapore as well.
Yes, often it's been said that crowdfunding helps to unlock innovation, right? So I think intellectual property R&D is a key component for a ICT business. How do you think crowdfunding will help Malaysian company to build maybe more IP-based business?
Sure. I think to start with, because it's a cloud platform, and so the world is your oyster. I mean, you become virtual. So you could be speaking to a subject matter expert at the Silicon Valley sitting here in Malaysia. You could be speaking to somebody in Europe about the market there, or IP, or about innovation there, without actually being able to. You don't need to fly over. I mean, the platform allows you to tap into these people, and I think that is great. I think that is a step forward. That's technology. That's disruptive, right? So I think So that will address the problem.
Yeah, it's great. I think this cross-border, this internationalization is one of the key value that everybody's looking at crowdfunding.
And I like the fact that you're able to rate, like using social media, able to rate the progress or the personality involved. So that gives the confidence as well to whoever's investing, who's behind either advisory or working or investing in IP. So that is also a great strength that you bring.
Yes, definitely. I think that crowdfunding in the end is a platform to share information, right? to make the process more transparent. I think as an entrepreneur who's actually about to embark in a crowdfunding campaign, how do you feel about sharing information? How about try to build your online profile for your company?
Yeah, as the same as raising money from venture financing, we have to be transparent, in terms of providing information, especially financial information. Of course, we do have the concern about. We were afraid about sharing too much information, especially if our competitors are so on the platform, But with Crowdo, I think it's pretty easy because besides sharing very high-level information, we can also choose not to share too detailed information whereby the investor, if they're interested, they can actually get in touch with us to get more information, on a private basis. And through Crowdo, we also can choose investors that we would like, to be on in our company, So it's very efficient. It's very easy to navigate.
Mr. Go, I think now that the framework is out, it's been approved, and we are here. Thanks for that. Is he looking at further support ECF and crowdfunding in Malaysia?
Yeah, we've worked hard to come to this day. We thought this is what the fruit tree would look like, and finally the fruits are out. What the SC would like to see is really the various platforms that has been registered, for which Crowdo is one of them, to really do the work that we envisage them to do, and that has been framed around the registration criteria for which we've given to you all, and to really engage with both the issuers and the investors, and to bring, as it were, a safe, trusted environment whereby issuers feel confident that this is a particular platform for which they can raise their necessary capital for themselves, and at the same time for investors to come on board in environment where they have that engenders trust and confidence because it is registered and regulated by the SC to invest. And like I said in many occasions before, not that we're going to take a plug off Tony Fernandez, but now everybody can invest, and not only everybody can fly. So it's all about the experience now. It's all about customers' experience. What some digital media company would say is the CX factor. And yeah, in the days ahead, we just hope that these platforms will play out their role.
Yes, great. So now I would like to open up the stage for some question from the audience. Is anyone in the audience would like to ask something related to crowdfunding or Malaysian ecosystem in particular? Please raise your hand.
I think just while we're waiting for questions, I have this bad habit of speaking all the time, but we're looking for questions. Just building on Mr. Gopi's point earlier about borderless investor interest, I just wanted to share that the other day we actually sent out a newsletter to announce the impending launch of equity crowdfunding, which is dated for today. And when we looked at the results of who are opening the newsletter, we figured out that close to 30% of people who are opening the newsletter with the headlines Malaysia equity crowdfunding were actually from the US, right? So I think that shows the power and potential and impact of not only equity crowdfunding, but how you can actually have borderless access and outreach, using the internet and also social media as a medium.
So while we are waiting for a question from the audience, I have a question, and I think this is open to all the panelists. In Malaysia, there are around 650,000 SMEs, right? That I think they constitute up to 95% of all the business in Malaysia. They employ around 60% of the workforce, right? So we're talking a lot about crowdfunding for startup, crowdfunding for tech. How about the other SMEs? Do you think is crowdfunding appealing to them? Do you think?
I think it doesn't matter the sector, whether it's ICT or non-ICT, it doesn't matter, because the fundamentals have changed. It's the same. I'm an entrepreneur. I did 3 startups, 4, 1 failed, 3 went on. And I struggled to raise capital. I struggled a lot. Because when you go and speak with the bank, they talk to you as though they're giving you a housing loan. Look, I have no profits because I'm using the profits to build my business. So they don't understand. So, but these things are changing over time. So it doesn't matter the sector, but I think SME will benefit a lot from this platform. I think the SMEs they've got some very good ideas, they've got a very good business going on, because the lack of funds, so they flip, right? So I hopefully that this sort of crowdfunding platform and other incentives that we're driving the marketplace would change that.
Right. Leo, we have a question? Please.
Hi, I'm Amy from Money Compass. First of all, congratulations to Crowdo for your grand launching today.
Thank you.
I have a question here from the investor's perspective. Is looking at, there are 6 so-called these ECF, licensed ECF providers. And I believe these 6 of them are also competing of offering the best to the issuers. So from the perspective of issuers, what will be the initial listing cost? And is there any administration cost which is fixed for these issuers? And also, what kind of percentage of the issuers should share the profit sharing with the investors in future? So these are my questions.
Right, okay, so I think there are 2 questions. One is the fees, and the second is the profit share, which I think you mean about how much shareholding they should actually give to external financing or investors, okay? So our primary income is an admin fee, which is a percentage of the funds raised, right? We mainly charge when the offer has reached its target, right? And this is important for us to align our economic interests with issuers, right? To make sure that when you're successful, we're successful as well. Right? We have some other fees which are transparently and publicly stated on our platform, right? So there is a processing fee. There is due diligence which is required, right? And this due diligence is required from a statutory point of view, but also we conduct our own business and also social due diligence to make sure that high quality startups like Wedding, for example, are going to be listed on our platform, right? And also we have a deposit fee, right? To make sure that we're covering some of the upfront costs, right? But I think the key thing to remember is that the main income is how we're economically incentivized is that we make money when our issuers actually reach their target. right? In terms of how much shares or how much ownership, right, the issuer should be distributing to the investors, it's really up to the investors to decide, right? If you are overly ambitious and only give away a small number of shares, the market will know that, right? And you have a system where basically you set your target. In your offer terms, you will talk about the percentage of equity which is going to be shared, right? And if the market doesn't agree with the terms for which are being offered, they will not participate, right? If there are doubts, you will not reach your target, right? So there is quite a thoughtful process in terms of thinking, in terms of what are fair, equitable deal terms that they should be offering to the investors. Now, in terms of how much actual percentage, I really think it's up to investors. If you want to, the issuer, if you want to look at actual tram lines, I would just benchmark how much equity is distributed to angel investors or early stage venture capital funds today.
We have another question? Please.
Hi, good afternoon. Happy New Year to all. And
Happy New Year.
yes, my name is James. I'm representing Next Bank KL. We are a fintech community. So I have these questions which I think may concern some of us here. For example, we have been experiencing quite some exciting journey in our economy, especially in Malaysia. So we have seen some concerns raised. I mean, ECF have been a very exciting subject and it's being launched at the perfect time. So I think as a Malaysian, when I look at this platform, the first question that I'll be thinking is, okay, so looking at the current economic climax, what would be the challenge that the 6 operator, which we include Crowdo, will have if you're launching it at this time? So that would be my questions.
So I won't go into particulars about the economic climate, but I think in general, right, if you look at when equity crowdfunding, other variants of crowdfunding have taken off, 2000, 2008, this has not been largely when the global economy has been doing really well, right? It's been when the global economy, local economies have been facing challenges, right? The power of crowdfunding is that unlocking the potential through various technology, whether it's internet and social media and so on, right? What I believe for Malaysia specifically, and the reason why we're here, Nico and myself have been doing groundwork for the last 2 years. We have been seeing the economic situation, so we're dedicated to being here, is because we believe that there's huge potential, and it's just the right way of activating that, right? So, if you look at investors, if they're in a generally tough investment climate, I've looked at the top 20 fund performance on Bursa. I had some time the other day, so I looked at it. And I think that the top 20 fund average was around 2 to 3% annual, right? So equity crowdfunding is not going to be the silver bullet for investors to suddenly become rich, but it's going to offer them the avenue to diversify their investment portfolio, right? So they can create wealth accumulatively, right? And I think for issuers, and that's why we also like Malaysian issuers as well, because you're living in such a tough market, they really try hard, they work hard, they're not spoiled, right? And also that they have that additional urge and push to regionally expand as well. And I think that those dynamics actually work really in favor of equity crowdfunding here in the market.
Very well. Oh, we have a final question there.
Hi Leo, Ritaudin here from SME Corporation. By the way, congratulations. Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you.
This is very exciting to the SMEs out there. But I just want to understand whether, to the SMEs sometimes equity crowdfunding will be quite something new to them. They are not aware. They are not really well versed in terms of all these areas. Will Crowdo provide the necessary advisory services for this SME to be part of your platform? Thank you.
This is a very good question, right? So we can't make this happen alone. And that's why we align ourselves with various partners. And we will continue to add with partners which have a vested interest in building up a thriving investor or entrepreneur ecosystem, right? So on our part, we have made a platform which is as scalable as possible, which means that various partners can apply to be part of it, right? And also startups who are not yet raising funds can also join part as a community member. And also investors, when they join, they don't have to pay fees right away. They could decide whether they want to invest or not, right? So, but we will work with and continue to build up our alliance with Tier 1 partners to raise awareness, because raising awareness, education, is a core part of market development, right? We've seen that in other markets, and we believe that will be true here in Malaysia as well. I think that the great thing about Malaysia is that there are various private sector companies as well as government-related agencies as well, which are really trying to stimulate the sector. And we are having many conversations going on. We're always open to new conversations to see how we can work together to make sure that SMEs are aware of this option and are educated about the choice which is now being provided to them.
Okay, last question here.
Yeah, this question is extended to Mr. Goh. Okay, it's regarding SC as the regulators. We understand that in the market itself is because of the economic climate, and there are a lot of these people are taking opportunities and trying to create some sort of scam, you know. And they also claim they said that they are. It could be equity, crowdfunding, or you know, it could be the ECF and something like that. So how regulators are going to manage this kind of scam, and how is the regulators or SC providing all this educational campaign or roadshow to educate the investors?
I think scams have existed for the longest of time. It did not get started today. Let me just put that on record. Two, there are a multitude of regulators out there, and the SC is not alone. The SSM is another, Bank Negara is another, that tackles the entire gamut of scams that possibly exist out there, whether it's deposit taking in nature, some disguise themselves around land banking companies and whatever have you. We've seen the likes of many of them that has come to being. People have made losses. The regulators have gone after them. So in as far as the ECF space is concerned, the curation that is done by these registered platform operators is actually a very key feature that we have actually imposed on them to actually undertake. So in terms of the issues that are coming through the platforms, the platform operators actually have this obligation with regards to curation, and they have to do the necessary checks, as Leo has elaborated very much earlier. And the ecosystem is such that in terms of using social media to guard against scams, you have players around the ecosystem that will actually act as some sort of check and balance around that. For example, the venture capitalists that are actually eyeballing new companies, startup companies that are coming up on this, be it this platform or others in the days to come, they will provide some sort of leadership role, if you like, in terms of the due diligence that is necessary out there. At the same time, the crowd or the community that actually eyeballs these investors actually have a say, and we know how vocal people on the social media can be. So this is exactly the phenomena that we are looking for in terms of the power of the crowd, because crowdfunding is actually about the crowd playing that role, and the many players that will come alongside in the ecosystem that will provide the necessary check and balance. So if you're an issuer or you're an investor, they both stand to gain by coming together in this instance through a platform that offers you the transparency, that offers you the validation, that offers you sometimes the price leadership, and et cetera, and et cetera. So I won't belabor the point anymore. We can actually go on and on about this particular feature, but what would suffice to say is that I think in terms of where social media development is now and where technology has taken us, I think the opportunity is actually quite ripe for this to launch and to try and make it happen and to make the good happen more than the bad. I think there may be a few accidents here and there, but nothing is riskless in this world, let's face it. But there are lessons that we will take along the way, and we will recalibrate as we go along. But these are early days, and we hope it will work based on the current framework that we put together for the registered platform operators.
Thank you, Mr. Goh. If you have any additional question, you can meet us outside the coffee break, and we'll be happy to answer. I hope you find this session informative and interesting, and please join me to thank the panelists for their time and their answer.
Thank you, Mr. Nicola. Thank you, our dear panelists.